lately at every comedy show, they've had a photographer and they keep sending me like, here's your photos. And I'm like, I'm not going to put these up.
Sometimes if I know they're going to have photography, I'll just be like, hey, can you not take any pictures of me? And they're like, well, we'll take some pictures and we'll let you see if you like any of them. And I'm like, I already don't like any of them.
I hate them all. They're so, it's not their thing. It's my problem.
No. Yeah, it's not their problem. It's nice that they actually want to take pictures. I get that. But it's like pictures that you never look good in. You're always like,
yeah, complaining. I'm just complaining
like
the whole time.
Slumped over, where you have the worst posture.
And lately I've been looking, I'm like, oh my God, I need to start sucking in while I'm doing stand-up. Like my core is just naturally relaxed.
I mean, you should be naturally relaxed just because you're on stage. It's so hard to hold your stomach in and do stand-up.
Yeah, I know, but there's so many times where I'm like, if I relax, I have a pooch.
Everyone does. I mean, it's just, some people work out so much that they don't, but like, yeah, if you take pictures and it's like that, you ever take pictures and you think you look nice and then you see them and you're like, what was I thinking? I've had I have had hair day experiences, especially like in the summer. It's so hard to like just tame my hair. Yeah. And I was kind of glad that I didn't even do that many shows this summer because I didn't have to deal with my hair looking horrific.
No, I know. I did a show in Worcester, Mass Saturday, and it was outside, and it was really muggy this weekend. It was so muggy that the table that we were sitting outside was just naturally getting wet.
From the moisture, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
Yeah. I had some not weird shows. Friday night was a spicy meatball that I texted you about.
Ooh, you told me about that show.
Well, first of all, so I get the lineup and I see that I'm with Aaron Berg and Gina Bisconte, which are very like, Aaron Berg, not so much, but he does do like, he's not woke on stage. I'll say that.
No, but I love that about him.
Yes. And he's also a really good comic that he knows how to like, even if the audience, even an audience that isn't woke, he always manages to get them on his side.
He's very likable and he is a pro. Do you know what I mean? He can go into a show where it's a bunch of kind of woke idiots and get them on his side. Like he's likable. He knows how to work the crowd. And Gino I like as a person, but Gino does not have that same finesse of Aaron where he is just, you said he was calling the crowd retards and stuff.
He retards and faggots, and then he's like, if you guys don't shut the fuck up, I will go into my Holocaust jokes. Like he just kept leaning in to the point that I've never seen. And well, first of all, when I saw the lineup, I was like, oh, I'm on a show with Gina Bisconte and Aaron Berg. And then they go, oh, you're on the racist lineup. I'm like, yes.
That's hilarious.
But then we already knew Tiny Cupboard's deep into Bushwick. So that's just like a very, I guess, woke crowd. Like, that Aaron and Gina just do better at shows that are like The Stand that don't give a shit. And they've already managed to get the crowd to know this is exactly what stand-up you're going to get. So it's never a surprise and everybody's on board for it. Where like Tiny Cupboard, this is, first of all, it's just like this sweet couple that thought it would be cool to have a comedy club on a thing. So it was like their first time I've ever met them, and they're watching this show that this girl had set up. And I already known when I saw the lineup, I was like, oh boy, I don't know how this is going to go in Brooklyn. And it went exactly to how we planned it. And this couple was like, I don't know, they didn't know what to do. Like they were people were wanting their money back. They were yelling at Gino to get off the stage. Then Gino did
he get off the stage or he just stayed on for a bit? Yeah,
he stuck to his time.
I also kind of love Gino also. And all I want to know now is what his Holocaust jokes are.
I don't even remember, but the one was like, I got Anne Frank's diary, and when I opened it up, it just read, shh.
That's pretty funny.
I know, but in a way, I'm like, at the time I was like, oh, I don't get it. But then the more I thought about it, over the weekend. I was like, it's pretty good that she would just write shh in her diary. But yeah, so they got, so people were yelling at them, get off the stage at Gino.
That's hilarious. And the funny thing is, like, Gino probably wasn't even taken back by it because that's not the first time he's ever had that happen.
Not at all. So then, so I follow, she had me going up after Gino, Aaron, and then it was me. And I should have just been like this. You know what? For the sake of the show, it is so pointless for a comic like me to follow Aaron Burke because the stage has been, it's escalated to a point that it can't be reset by me. And I was like, you know what? I'll treat this as a challenge to follow Aaron Burke. So I went on after him. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like great at the same time. Like the stage has been set and the audience was like, what a weird show. It was a wild ride. And then finally it came back to me and it was just like, we were over it by the time. And so and then I'm all in my head being like, I want to get out of here. I feel like that wasn't such a great set. It was not enjoyable for me. And then I see Gino Bisconte hanging out like it's no biggie. Meaning like he had no problem even being the worst hated comic on stage. And there I am in my mind being like, I need to leave. Everybody hates me.
I think Gino in his head detaches from that because it's kind of a character.
Yeah.
Didn't even like, I think it's kind of for him a character. I mean, I haven't seen Gino stand up in a long time, but like I do love when the crowd hates him. I mean, there's also, it's kind of like how people say they like watching me on stage. Not that it's the same exact thing, but how like I'll turn half the crowd off and half the crowd's into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do like watching that though. It's kind of fun as a comic to watch somebody just like bomb and like, and they're so into bombing. Like, because I'm sure he wasn't taken aback by it at all. And he was just like going further into.
Yes.
Which I kind of love.
Even Joe had a show after me at the same place at Tiny Cupboard. And he was like, I have to go and move up. Joe had to go. He was like, I have to watch this. And I was like, I totally agree. It's so fun. And it was so weird because there was like this girl in the back and part of the audience when Gino started going into his Holocaust jokes. She was like, she goes, oh my God, he like really hates Jews. And she was really finding it delicious. Like Katie Hannigan was with me and she put it the best. Like you could tell that this girl was really enjoying that she was being offended.
Oh, she loved it.
You know that when people are like, oh my God, like as if it's personally happening to them where you're like, yeah, Gino Bisconte's best friend is Jewish, so he doesn't hate Jews. His jokes are just colorful.
I remember the first time I did a show with him. It was like at this weird restaurant place, and he did a joke about something about like how he likes to go to a domestic violence shelter and just with a frying pan and go, "Where is she?" And I thought that was so funny. I mean. The thing is, it's hard for people to put like jokes on one side and then reality on the other.
Yeah.
So like I can watch someone like that and just think it's funny. But I see people who are just like so woke and so politically correct now just being like just outraged. Just outraged that this is happening in their America.
Yeah, but there is a thing, and I felt like Katie said it best of like, there's still like, even the people that are outraged, you can see there's like this weird enjoyment for them to be outraged. Like,
I think people love being outraged.
Yes. And you could sense it. But then this couple was like, they were showing us the DMs that they were getting of like, what do we need to do? But then we were telling them like, you know, you could ask this person, what would you want us to do that would make you happy? And then you can weigh being like, this person also sounds like they have outlandish requests. Like you refunded them their money and you said, I'm so sorry. That's all you need to do. And then they were like, they're not going to have that comic. They're not going to have Gino on again, which I'm like, that's fair. That's their business. And if they don't want to deal with this, then, and this is not something that they want to put up with, then that's totally by their own rights that they can do that. And it was just one of those things that you're just like, I bet you they were like, we had no idea that this is what comedy was going to be like. And you're like, welcome, welcome to Woodstock.
Well, yeah. Also, though, just because you don't like one comic, you're gonna ask for your money back. Like they probably enjoyed Aaron. They probably enjoyed you. Was there other comics on the show?
There were, and I'm going to have to be fair. Like this lineup, when I saw it, first of all, I only recognized Gino and Aaron. The others I didn't recognize. I watched them. It wasn't great. Like, I'm sorry, this girl put together probably one of the worst shows I've ever seen somebody put together. It was just so bad. Like, some of the people don't ever do stand. It was like comics that like do the grizzly pear every now and then. Like this one lady who went up, she did her set and was like, after 2 minutes, she's like, well, that's all I wanted to do. That's all I didn't have much. That we were like, where did this girl find this comic that this woman was like, I just wanted to stop by and see what all this is. And thank you. Good night. And you're like, this is crazy. It was just like a bunch of bikers on stage.
She's just running her TV audition set for 2 minutes. We're like, what are you doing with this 2 minutes?
Well, it's just like, it seemed like just some random person that happened to be on the roof that was like, hey, can I do stand up? And then the girl was like, sure, you can go do stand up.
Well, maybe she's a new comic too.
I think so. Well, that was the thing that we were talking about with Tiny Cupboard is like, so they have this amazing thing where there's always a pretty big audience on stage and it's fun. And it has the backdrop of the city with the nice neon light. But then all the people that are booking the shows are actually like maybe people that haven't been doing it at all. Like none of the comics that have been around for a while are recognizing the comics that are booking these shows.
Well, it seems like comics that are doing comedy for a while aren't really booking any shows. They're just kind of, and like, I get it. Who wants to book a show? It's kind of annoying. You have to worry about the crowd. You have to worry about people being upset by the comics. So I think comics that are doing it like our peers, we're just, there's very few people that are running shows that I think are our peers right now.
Yeah.
I know Gary was running a show.
Yeah, that got canceled.
I heard it got canceled, yeah.
Which that one's also annoying too. Like, it makes me, I don't know. I just don't, this is the confusing thing. And I think a lot of people I don't get it. I don't know why the comedy clubs can't open yet restaurants and gyms can open.
I mean, I saw a sign that said Grizzly Pear's opening for comedy on like
that's
13th or 14th or something. Yeah.
How?
I don't know.
You can't even do Bartolino's, which in Astoria, which was an outside show in a tent.
I think if people don't complain, he'll be all right. I don't know. I think it depends on who's complaining.
Well, I did a Brooklyn rooftop show on I think Wednesday or Thursday, and we were talking, and we were like, yeah, this is illegal.
Yeah, I'm sure that most of these shows are illegal. Okay. Like I did that one show, was it Wednesday night? And I guess it was all people that knew each other. And everyone is like sitting right on top of each other like they're in a group photo. And you're just like, I guess they all just know each other. So they're all comfortable being that close. And I'm like, I don't know. I just kind of stayed away from them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know these people. I guess they're all comfortable with one another, but I don't know any of them. So I just kind of stayed away.
Oh, yeah. I feel like once I'm off the stage, I try to wear my mask, but it does really get annoying. You can't hear people. Like, I'll go order food and it's behind a plastic partition, and then it's like a young kid that doesn't even enunciate anyway. And then he's got a mask on top of him, and it's a lot of the times I'm like, what? What do you want me to do?
I wonder, like, if anyone has gone to order food from a fast food place and gotten so upset and mad that midway they just turned it into a robbery where you're like, just give me all your money. I'm fed up trying to order and you're not listening to anything I'm saying. You're like, just give me all your fucking money right now.
I know, because one of my things I hate is when somebody, if you're like, especially remember when you're younger, you'd go to a bar that was like loud and then you're just constantly yelling at each other, repeating your thing over and over again, where I was like, I don't understand why this is enjoyable for anybody.
It's enjoyable if you're drunk. There's a lot of things that I used to be able to enjoy and put up with when I was drinking. And it's so much harder now to enjoy most of those things. You ever just watch people who are drunk? They're having the best time. It's like people enjoying I'm sure there are people at that show that, maybe not that show, that like enjoy Gino, and other people are like, what are they enjoying? That's kind of how I am right now, where like I'm not drinking, so I don't enjoy anything.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have to also, with like Gino's show, there were like a few people that were actually enjoying his set.
I'm sure.
Yeah. That's why it was like weird that a few of those people that were super loud and vocal for him to get off the stage would speak for the whole crowd, like the audacity.
That's what's weird about it, because it's like, just check your phone for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or go to the bathroom.
Yeah, it just seems like if other people are enjoying it, then just sit it out. It's just not for you. It just Jimmy, it's not like he's headlining, he's doing an hour. What's he doing, 15 minutes? It's like,
yeah, 10.
Sit it out. 10 minutes. How long? You've never done something for 10 minutes you didn't enjoy without screaming at people. Just fucking sit down and shut up. I agree. I have some shows booked there, and I'm just like wondering what it's going to be like.
Well, that's the other thing too, is like, it's so far out there. It's like, even a drive took from Astoria is like 45 minutes.
Is it?
It's far. And then the train ride is about an hour. And it's not in the best neighborhood. There's nothing you can do. So you can't, if you're like killing time in between, you can't even hang out anywhere because it's just a shithole over there.
Oh, man. I'm going to start turning that show down then. I didn't know it was that far. I just figured Brooklyn, like, maybe it's like 40 minutes from me. So that means it's probably like an hour from me.
Yeah, it's like, it's right. If you on the L, it's off the Broadway Junction stop, which is like almost to Canarsie.
I have no idea what that means, but you just said it's far. Yeah, that sounds far. I'm gonna have to rethink it.
It is fun, but when it bombs like that, you're just like, I can't, this is like such a huge chunk of my night.
Was it you that said something about like you do all these rooftop shows and a lot of them don't go well and you just want to jump off? Did you say that?
No, but I think a lot of us have that feeling. Like, I know Katie that night, but that was the weird thing. She was on the show after me, and it was the same audience that was here for the show before.
So it's kind of just the same audience.
And it was already weird. And I think also all those people were getting really drunk. So it was like a tough set for her. And she was like, I'm thinking, like, if you guys don't start laughing or whatever, she's like, I'm going to jump off this roof.
Did they laugh at that?
Yeah. But that was like the go-to. I mean, we all talk about, like, with those rooftop shows, you're like, you definitely want to commit suicide after you finish your set that doesn't go well.
Yeah. Also, I guess what sucks too is like, you have a shitty set and then you have to go down 10 flights of stairs. So you're just like sad that whole way down. It's like such a long way to get to your car. Like, they should have that airplane slide when there's like a crash or something. Or at the very least, a fireman slide where you can just go to the bottom.
Or you can, I don't know. It's just it's weird for sure.
Yeah, but also if there was a fireman slide, there would be like girls with dresses and just their pussy juice is just sliding all the way
over
down
it. Yeah. And then you get like pink eye or something.
Yeah, and then there's a guy just like smelling the pole. And you're like, I'm trying to come down. Can you move?
Yeah, it was weird. But speaking of like, I'm just picking my nose.
That's okay. I had something in my eye for like 5 minutes that I was just like digging in my eye, and I was like, I hope nobody sees me doing this.
Well, every now and then you rub your nose and then you're like, there's a hard piece right here.
You're like, how do I not get that? You're like, I have to get it. It's right there.
But you know how you were talking about like when you're not drinking, nothing's enjoyable? On Saturday night, we did a show at Worcester, Mass. So Joe's friend that he's known for a long time brought all of his state trooper friends to the thing. And they got drunk, and it was such a crazy like social gathering. Like we really wanted to catch up with his friends, but then like he had this girl. So this one girl was talking to Joe, and then I was talking to this other girl, and we were both like cross talking, and they were coming. Yeah. Joe and I kept moving further away from them because they were just like in our face yelling and interviewing us. And then we kept moving, and then they kept moving closer. And then because they obviously were having a few to drink. And then I was getting grilled 20 questions about
About
like,
what?
how did you meet Joe? How come you don't have an accent? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Because I was from Texas, and they're like, you don't have an accent. That's so weird. Why don't you have an accent? And it was just like this loop that they were getting in. And then this one girl went into a story that it was just like the worst story. And then, you know, when you're drunk, you kind of repeat yourself over and over again. She must have repeated the
Yes.
story like 5 times to the point that Joe and I almost had to be like, we know. Like, shut the fuck
What
up.
was the story?
She has 2 kids, and she went to have a hang with her friend that has 4 kids. And then her kid was like, Mommy, why does she have, is that her extended family? Were those her cousins? And my kid couldn't believe that those were all of her kids. And I had to tell her, no, those are her siblings. And then my daughter was like, those aren't her cousins. And this was the story that went over and over for about 5 to 7 minutes.
It's not even an interesting story. You're like, let me know. Does any of them get molested at some point? What is the point of bringing this story up? That somebody has a lot of kids and somebody couldn't believe someone had a lot of kids and those were their siblings?
It was so bad. And then the weird thing is, have you ever had this in a hang? When you see their partner and you've also hung out with their partner and they're like more subdued and just quiet and know how to have a conversation, you're like, hey, can you switch out your husband right now? Because like,
Tag team your husband.
You're draining my energy right now. This is awful. Like, I was just getting, you know, like if we were playing volleyball, she was just like spiking me with stuff like nonstop.
I guess she was really drunk.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, she was like very nice and pleasant. There was nothing wrong about it, but it was just like, yeah, so it's like, you know, like I was just thinking about like with, you know, talking about love on the spectrum, how they're like, I'm not enjoying myself, I'd like to leave. Like that's exactly what I wanted to do to this lady. Like, whatever you're doing right now, I find this atrocious and I need to get out of here.
I did that show in Jersey City and there was a guy that was sitting with this woman and he was being a little annoying during the show. And then at the end of the show, he like came up to me. He was like, hey, I want to tell you a funny story. And I said, no. And he got so offended. And then it turns out he was the owner. So I had to like listen to his dumb story and keep saying how funny it was. But I was just like, I'm not interested in your story. And he was just like coming closer and closer to me. And I was like, okay, fine. The story was not good. He was just telling me how somebody else had said something to them thinking they were a couple and that he tried to take the dishes away from the girl sitting behind us and they didn't want to give him the dishes right away. And I was like, yeah, no, I didn't need to know any of this. None of this is interesting to me. I don't actually care. He's a nice enough guy, but
no, I know. But don't you want to be like, this story's awful, sir. There's no plot point or
when he said he wanted to talk to me and tell me a story and I said no, he was like so kind of caught off guard because he thought I would instantly want to talk to him.
Yeah, so why even ask that question if that's what you're upset? Like, he should just go into the story if he doesn't want to hear your response.
I love that Patrice joke where he's talking about somebody raping his time. Do you remember that joke he had? It was so funny. And you're like, there's so many people that do that. Like that guy totally just like, I could have left, but he's there like just talking my ear off.
That is so funny. I don't remember that bit word for word, but I do remember him coining that term and I love it. They're you're like, I want that time back. That was traumatic.
There's no way to get it back.
Yeah. And I want to cause harm to you.
Yeah, there's like especially if people are drinking. If you're not drinking, there's a little bit of a way to show people you're not interested. But if someone's drinking and they can't pick up on any of your cues, it's just like a waste of your time. It's a conversation that's going to go on way too long and you're stuck in it. They're just like, even being blatantly rude, somebody will still not pick up on it.
No. The only thing I told Joe is like, that is a moment that I wish you would let me smoke cigarettes so I could be like, I'm going to go smoke a cigarette.
You should have a pack on you just for instances like that, where you just need a break, a timeout.
Or at least like maybe in the middle of them telling it, I'll just light up. And if it's that way, they won't necessarily like, they'll probably kind of cut it short and leave if they're offended by the cigarette.
People like that, you can take out a syringe to do heroin and they would just be like, oh, I'll wait. Like they're still not gonna be thrown by it. They're like, you definitely are into the story. You're even relaxing. That's why you're doing this heroin in front of me. Imagine like having your heroin high or whatever wasted by somebody just telling you an awful story.
Oh, God. You know what? And the weird thing too is they never like, you're just like this, oh yeah, that's crazy. They don't realize that you're not interested.
You would have to physically say to them, this is not interesting me at all.
Why can't we do that? Or a nice way to be like,
you can, but there's just like no way to there's no way to not come off as like a huge con.
yeah. Well, when we're having like Joe was getting attacked from one side and I was getting verbally attacked from the other side. It was so bad that Joe could sense my tension and I could sense his tension, that he started laughing, but he had his mask on and he's like, thank God that we have these masks on because people can't tell that I'm like
laughing.
He was cracking up so hard because it was just such a ridiculous social scenario. And then it got so bad that I had to say, this is too much. This is crosstalk is insane. Like I can't concentrate on what anybody's talking to me right now. Like what is happening is just awful. And then I think that lady I was like, and I don't want to do a sidebar with this lady. So Joe had to pick up on my cue and being like, we had to try to get the conversation back to one whole conversation. Or I think he was just like, yeah, we need to go get paid. And I think they're trying to close up shop right now.
That's a good excuse if you blame it on somebody else. Or you could always say, I have to go pee really bad. But then, like, if you come back, that person might just still be waiting there.
I know. And here's the other thing. So they're state troopers. They're like, okay, they left. And then we're like, all right, let's get our check. And then when we were ready to leave, we noticed that they were still outside the woo-ha-ha talking. So we went through a dark alley between two buildings in a really bad town. Worcester's not a really great town. Late at night on a weekend, it's just like dead. So it's just like crazy homeless people. We were like, how funny is it that we'd rather walk down a dangerous dark alley to avoid annoying drunk state troopers?
All those state troopers are probably driving drunk too. That's the funny thing.
Well, to be fair, his one friend wasn't drunk who was a state trooper.
Okay.
So I think he was the designated driver. But I mean, it was insane.
I was supposed to do that club, but I guess that's not happening.
Well, I think they said they're going to do a few more shows and then they're closing it down for the winter.
Oh, it's an outside show.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to, I think, Cincinnati, and I asked Marlene if it's still on. She's like, well, I think it's an outside show and it's like way reduced capacity and it's going to be way less money.
Yeah. Well, I just featured for Joe and the pay was half what I would make. So instead of making $100 per spot, it was $50.
Yeah. So she was like, do you want me to reschedule? And I'm like, I might just reschedule it then.
I mean, I feel like to do something like that, you would have to string along a bunch of other one-nighters on the way there and maybe make it worth your while. But you're right. Like going to travel to do a show at half capacity and then you're making half the money, like that you're back at being like getting paid like a feature.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many shows they would do. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I might just do it. I just might put it off till next year and, hopefully, but like, who knows what's going to happen next year? This is such a weird holding pattern we're in. There's just like,
yeah, I don't know how, there's not like a lot of clubs that are actually even really running to pay you enough money, I guess, to make it even as a headliner right now.
But there are comics who are doing the road. I mean, I wonder if they'll have enough shows to do consistently, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, it might just be a couple. I know Florida just totally opened back up.
Yeah, and I think Texas doesn't care either, because I know Bobby was at Houston Improv this weekend, and I don't think that they're at doing half capacity. They're booking whoever can sit there.
That's kind of wild to be sitting right on top of people you don't know. Like even at that show where people were like right on top of each other, it was still outside.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it is crazy to kind of be inside on top of strangers you don't know.
Well, I know Bobby has antibodies, and I think,
Oh, okay.
but I think a lot of people treat it like when they have antibodies that they have carte blanche, that they can kind of go wherever. And that's the thing that even that you're like, I don't even know if I don't know if you can get it. For some reason, I think you can't. It is possible that you can get it again, and the antibodies don't last long. And also the coronavirus also mutates.
Changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that bad if you're a performer. Do you know what I mean? Because you're really not by the crowd and you can really isolate yourself.
Yeah.
I would like the Cincinnati show if it was inside. I was just going to do it because I was like, I'll wear a mask on the plane. It's not that long of a ride.
Yeah. When you're on the stage, even at full capacity, you're not really on top of the audience. Maybe DC, The Hunt, where you're underground, you're on top. Yeah. But on the other shows, like any other comedy club, you're really not like that on top of the audience.
Yeah, it's just like risking putting these people. Do you know what I mean? It's more like that for me, I think, than anything else. But
I know.
I don't think the antibodies really does that much, to be honest, because I do think that it's mutating at such a fast pace where I think it's changing.
I know.
I don't know.
There was a few Sundays ago, the train wasn't working, and so I had to walk to Queensboro, and I ended up walking with this guy he's going to NYU for a master's or a doctorate. And we just started talking while the whole time we were walking, and he was like, I think this is something that we're going to be constantly dealing with for a long time. Like, he was very pessimistic about it.
Like, even after a vaccine comes?
Yeah, meaning like, he's like, it's just going to go back into an animal, then we're going to eat that animal, it's going to come back again. Like, he was just saying that it's just going to be like cyclical and then mutating constantly, that he's like, I think we're going to be always like weirdly in a state of pandemic.
For like years?
I guess so, but the thing is, I remember talking to Rosebud, and she read into basically how the Spanish flu ended. She said it wasn't like it just abruptly ended. It's just that we stopped giving a shit. And I have to say, even in my mentality, the way I run my life right now, you could probably say that I'm at a state of like, I guess I just don't care anymore. I'm hanging out with Joe's family. We're inside. They all have their own jobs. They're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to shows. I'm outside. I'm not really hanging out I'm not like going to shows or bars where bands are singing and I'm yelling with a bunch of other people. But
yeah, I think that's different. I think most people are doing that. Do you know what I mean? Even like I'm back doing shows and I've been over friends' houses and I don't know where they've been 24/7. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's hard to know where anyone is 24 hours a day. And I do think if the numbers spike really high again, I would be less likely to go out as much. Do you know what I mean?
True.
Like I think right now the numbers are pretty low and most of the things that people are doing are outside. Like, I've gone out to eat a couple of times, I think like once or twice, and it was like indoors and it was like fine.
Yeah.
But I think if the numbers go really high again, I would be a lot less likely to do that stuff. The rate of transmission is very low right now.
Yeah. Well, I know when Joe and I were talking about, we're like, I don't understand why, at least let the comedy clubs open. I don't see the big deal about that if we're doing the other things. And he said there is research like with bars and clubs like that, like it does spike dramatically when you go into the scenarios.
The one thing that I was saying, because I was talking to Liz about it, she said the same thing. She's like, I don't understand. I was like, well, I think the one thing is if you're laughing, the droplets spread pretty quickly, whereas if you're eating, it's not. And look, I think whatever, if you want to open. I'm not like even against it or anything. But I support it at this point, especially if you're distanced far enough. But I do think that's the one thing where the rate of, unless you're just booking comics who are going to bomb constantly, I think your rate of transmission is going to be higher when you're, the droplets spread, because you're laughing but if you are, I guess, 6 feet away from each other, it's also weird to me because I'm wondering if you have these small 25% percentages, I think, which is like 15 people or something. Is it even worth it to pay the staff at that point? Do you know what I mean? Because you have to pay the comics, you have to pay the staff, you're running electricity. So it's like, are you really making any money? Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're not paying anybody, you're still paying rent and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know if it's because they were talking about doing just selling tickets and no drinks and no food, and you have to wear a mask the whole time. But it's like, how are they going to make money off that?
No, I know. Like,
unless you're charging $50 a ticket.
Yeah, way more money, which is like, I mean, it's awful. When we went to the movie theaters, Joe and I got a soda. I got a soda, he got a water, I got Reese's Pieces, and then he got M&Ms. It came to like $25.
Yeah. That's why when people go to the movies, they just bring backpacks and put shit in it.
No shit.
I mean, now it's kind of the time where it's like, if you're going to do that, it is nice to, I guess, support them. But yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. And on top of that, then you spent close to like $35 for the ticket. So I think we spent close to $70 to go see a movie.
That was probably just okay.
Yeah. I was like, we could have just probably maybe watched this on streaming service when it comes out. It was enjoyable to go to the movie, and I don't look at my phone when I watch a movie in the movie theater. So it was nice in that aspect. But like, what an insane amount of money to spend, though.
But see, in a situation like that where you're in the movies and there's only another couple people in there, I think that's fine. But then again, how much money is this movie theater making, paying these people and running this movie on a projector? I don't know. If you're just doing it for like love of the game and you love the arts, then I get it. But if you have to consider like with opening comedy clubs, if you have to consider paying these people and paying the comics, it's just like, I guess you don't have to pay wait staff because there's no, if they do no drinks and no food.
Yeah.
You're just paying one person. I don't know.
That's the thing. That's why I'm like, in a weird way, I'm like, I don't think we can shut down again because this is just like economically damaging, and we're based on a society that we run on money and capitalism that I'm like, I think we're just going to have to barrel through it. And then it's up to the individual to decide if they want to go out or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Because like, if they don't extend unemployment, there's a shit ton of people unemployed right now. What's everyone going to do? And it's not even that much money where you're really paying all your bills.
No.
You know what I mean? So like, imagine not having any of that money and the clubs are still, I think I have one date booked for next year and it's in February. So it's like, if COVID is still a big issue, I don't even know if that place is going to open.
No, I mean, with even unemployment, it's like, if I wasn't with Joe, I'd have to probably just go back to Texas for a little while until things picked up again.
But I think a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, if they have family and if they're in a situation where they can't afford their rent, because it's like insane to pay New York prices when you can't do New York things, you know? You're not making a lot of money. You're paying this super high rent. So it makes sense if you can go back, especially for the winter where it's going to be fucking cold. If you can go somewhere where you can have like a backyard and maybe a fire and be around family, why wouldn't you do that? Like,
absolutely. No, it makes sense. But speaking of like did you see the news article, the New York Times, about Trump's taxes that he paid $750?
Well, that's the thing is like rich people always get all these tax breaks. Although, did he get tax breaks or he just didn't pay the money?
Sure. So first of all, this is always the case. I have not read the article yet.
Yeah, I don't read the stuff either.
I go off based of what I'm seeing on Twitter a little bit. From what I understand is he's also operating at a loss. So maybe that's how, and he has a lot of debt. And then people are talking about with him being president, it's allowed him to be in a position of power to, if those debts get waived, he can pull favors to those companies or businesses.
Yeah.
So that's like the weird situation with it. And then I saw one thing on Twitter. He paid for a consulting fee about, I want to say it like near $100,000 or several $100,000. And then if you look at Ivanka Trump's one, she made the same amount. So that consulting fee was just to pay Ivanka. So it seems bullshit. He just gave her some money, but did it as a consulting fee, probably so he doesn't have to pay taxes off of that.
Well, what is he even giving her a consulting fee for?
I've always thought this with consulting. You're like, exactly what is going on with consulting? It sounds like a bullshit job to me. That is.
I guess if you're in your field and you're an expert, it makes sense. But what could she possibly be expertly saying to? I don't know. That's so weird. You're giving your wife a $250,000 consulting fee for what?
I have no
Doesn't
idea.
she like barely speak English? I don't know.
No, this is to his daughter. To his daughter.
Oh, his daughter. Oh, I thought he meant to his wife.
Wait, I get them confused because they're both kind of the same name. Ivana is the daughter, and Ivanka.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It's kind of like
the debates are Tuesday, which I think it is going to be one of the most watched things ever.
Joe Biden, I can't picture being really great at the debate, but like Donald Trump's not even that great of a debater, but he's so aggressive that it kind of, I don't know, hard to debate too. So it's like a shit show.
It's hard to debate somebody who's just making anything up. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to have a debate with somebody where they're just going to pull out fictitious facts. Like, you know what I mean? He's just going to make stuff up. So there's really no way to debate that.
Yeah, and then he also, like, Trump also attacks at a personal level that it throws you off that you're not even talking about facts, and then you're just kind of like fighting each other.
I did like at the last debate when he debated Hillary that he brought a bunch of Bill Clinton's sex accusers there. That is such like a underhand move that I kind of love that. You can't say you don't love that.
Yeah, you appreciate the creativity that he puts into mental warfare.
I wonder if he's going to bring all of the kids that Biden creepily smelled.
That's a very
front row.
That would be a good tactic.
Or maybe it'll be late. They probably should be in bed.
I'm sure it's at a reasonable hour.
It's so weird I think that's the other thing too, is like, as a country, we hate, not everybody, but we don't love Trump. You know what I mean? I think he's just the worst leader.
Yeah.
But like, also you want to see him, he's kind of like Gino. Do you know what I mean? Where like you want to see him upset people.
I know. He is like Gino, where you're like, as much as I don't agree with a lot of stuff, you're like, what a fun train wreck to watch.
Yes. So I think it'll be fun to see like first of all, I'm going to stay home, make popcorn and watch it. It is
I'm
like
tweeting it.
I'm going to live tweet it. I mean, I think everyone's going to be tweeting. Twitter might get shut down.
Maybe we should do for fun, just like a live YouTube thing for Patreon, and then we can just watch it and just talk about stuff while it's happening.
How would we do that? Would we just both be watching it?
Yeah, we don't have to like commit hard to it, but it would be such an easy thing to do.
That would be fun.
If you're up for it. Yeah. Let us know, guys. Because we're going to release this tonight or tomorrow.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I think this is our SoundCloud. So if you guys want to see us do it live, that would be fun and easy.
Yeah.
To do.
I wonder what I could watch it on. I don't have regular TV.
Oh, I don't know. You don't have regular TV?
I don't have cable.
Oh, you just watch stuff on streaming.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. I guess if we were going to stream, I was like, oh, then you can't stream it on the other thing. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Or if not, we can always not do it, which is also a really fun thing to do.
That's also something we love, is to say we're going to do stuff and not do it.
It's my favorite. I always have the big
idea. We could figure it out.
Because I love tweeting. I love tweeting like debates, and I love award shows. It's like hanging out in the back of class and making fun of everybody doing stuff.
Yeah, it is fun. Especially if you get a tweet that does well, it just makes you feel so good. And then all the ones that don't do well, you feel so bad about yourself.
That's true. I go back and delete those because I'm like, this is pointless on the timeline.
Yeah, and also I'll just be like, this really bombed. Like, this did terrible. And you're like, I gotta just delete that. It's gotta be scrubbed.
Yeah, I've done that a few times where I'm going through my feed and I'm like, I should just take this off.
You're like, this is not doing well. No one's really happy about this. My friend got me to watch another terrible dating show on, is it Hulu? It is called Married at First Sight.
I've heard about this, and it kind of feels like in the same realm of 90 Day Fiancé.
So I'll say this, 90 Day Fiance I like so much more because it is so trashy. This show is just like, it's not as trashy, it's not as interesting. As soon as I see the couples, I then Google and see if they're together or not. Like, it's just the other way. A lot of those people do legitimately love each other and they're trying to make it work, and it's just a train wreck. You know what I mean? Who doesn't speak the language that well? Who doesn't get, along with each other's families? There's like a lot of drama in that where this is not as trashy, and I'm just not as into it.
Oh, it's not as good?
It is good, but like, to me, I love the fighting. I love the trashiness of it. I love people like saying, I'm sending you back. Like, what a nasty comment to say to somebody to get under their skin. Like, there was one girl that was fighting with, was it her boyfriend? She'd just be like, I'm sending you back. Or like this one lady would just be like, I'm going to get you deported, like after they were married. And you're like, what a nasty cunt thing to say. But also I love the drama that comes from it. This show, it's just like, these people, it's such a weird concept to even agree to do this. You don't know anything about the person. You literally show up to an altar and say yes. And then after you're like, what's your name?
For what reasons? Is it to get citizenship?
No, they're both like, the first two seasons take place in New York City. So it's people from New York marrying other people from New York. It's not like, right. So that's the other element with the other thing, where it's like you have a crashing of cultures, which is great for TV. Yeah. This is just like two sad New York people who didn't find people.
Yeah.
But they are good looking people. So like, you show up that day to the altar, you see somebody, and you're basically saying yes just off of appearances. And then like, you have to get to know them. You go on a honeymoon, and then you have to move in with somebody in like a week. It's just like, it is crazy, but it's just not as interesting to me because there's not as much drama. Like the first season, there was this one girl that she was crying during her wedding because she was like, I'm not attracted to this guy at all. She was like, this is like the worst day of my life. She was visibly crying that whole day. And then slowly, like, she just got to see he was a really nice guy, and like now they're like one of the couples that's like in love and has 2 kids, but so basically they take these I guess 4 people who are like experts in like love and me, like, just, I think it's kind of the people that did eHarmony because they have that same music playing. So it's like they match you based off a bunch of compatibility tests, and then they're saying this is your perfect match. So like, technically they think these people are perfect for you.
That's wild. It almost makes me think, like when you're on Instagram or like TikToks like this, they know your algorithm so well and your data and what your eyes are like focusing on like, or like what you're staying on the most, that they know what products to feed you that you're most likely.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't done that with human beings. If you're single, being like, here's somebody that I think that you might really like.
They might start doing that where like you're just scrolling and they're like, here's James, he's 25 feet away, he likes dogs, and you're like, ooh,
this sounds great. Like, I just think it'd be funny if that was the case. Like, even if I like married to Joe, all of a sudden like another dude is popping up
and they're like, we think this guy's better than Joe. Like, that is a weird way to just like, you're right, how they know what you like, what your interests are. They're just going to start sending you people.
Well, that's just what this show Married at First Sight sounds like, is if it's based on like the eHarmony kind of like algorithm or surveys that you do, because those are very extensive anyway, that they probably could kind of figure out down to a science. Like, Facebook can also tell when you're about to hook up with somebody by, or this was when Facebook was more prevalent than Instagram. So I feel like I'm dating now because I don't think a lot of people actually, especially younger people, don't do Facebook as much.
No, I think, I think that they think Facebook's for old people now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I'm on Facebook probably the least.
Yeah. But every now and then, like when you send me something, Facebook is so good for like some good old fashioned personal drama.
Yes. Facebook's good for drama. I do love that about it. But there's a lot of, what Facebook is also good for is I had somebody got upset with something I wrote on, did I talk about this already? I might have. When somebody called me a dumb bitch on Instagram. Somebody on Instagram thought they could call me a dumb bitch and I would leave it alone. Because like on Instagram, most people's accounts are private. This guy had his full name. I went right on Facebook, saw his private page, and learned everything about him in 5 minutes.
Nice.
So he called me a dumb bitch, and he has 2 daughters, and I was like, well, I hope your daughters, something like, I wonder what your daughters would think about you calling them a dumb bitch. And he's like, I don't have daughters, I only have boys. So then I went back, took their names, and was like, oh, you don't have a daughter named Nina and something else? I was like, I can't imagine that you're that progressive that you have let them transition already. That dude never wrote back.
Nice.
So it's like, you can, that's what Facebook's still good for, is to do stuff like that.
Adrienne, I love this. It's like you won one for comics.
I did. I think I'm actually going to post it and say that it was a win for me. Just block him and post it. But he was such a liar. I was like, you look like an asshole. You got caught out there, and I know you have daughters.
Yeah. What a fucking idiot.
People forget that there's other social media that you could still see stuff about. That's how I've caught some other people too. There was a guy, I remember after I did the Degenerates, who was like, you're fat and ugly. And then that was the guy that was like 500 pounds and had a picture of him with a Pirates hat on. And I was like, you're the guy that's calling me like fat and ugly. And he's like, well, I just started a diet 3 days ago. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, why would you even say that when you're uglier and even fatter? But people don't realize that you can go on Facebook and search for these idiots. Most of them have their real names on there, their first and last names, and you match their pictures up.
Yeah, you're like, it's not rocket science.
Yeah, I know, but that was another person. Like, those are the people where they do that, and you're like, hey, man, I know everything about you. I was like, I even know your baby mama's name. Like, yeah. I could tag her in this also.
You're like, I know where she works.
I wonder if that guy, when he saw that, was probably like, what the fuck? Did you see
she's a witch?
Yeah, there was that one, I don't know all the specifics on this, so I'm going to definitely mess it up. But there was a guy said to some girl, like, I'm going to come murder you and your family.
Jeez.
And then she found out everything about him, and he was like a kid in high school, where she was like, really? You're going to come murder me? He's like, this is where you live. This is your mom's name. This is where you go to school. And he just was like flabbergasted, like, holy. And then he was like, please don't tell my mom. Do you know what I mean? So it's like people like that doing stuff on the internet that think they have all of this like protection. And you're like, no, people can find out who you are. Stop being a dumb cunt.
Yeah. I suspect from a lot of stuff that a lot of people that write or like the trolls, they're actually pretty young, or like the ones that say because I think about how I was at that age, that you could easily just kind of do something and not think of accountability for it.
Well, I have to tell you, both of these dudes were older. So like the one dude that called me like ugly and fat, he was probably like 50 or 60. And he had that Pirates hat on. What made it worse is he had a feather in his cap.
Yeah, and the thing too is like, it never feels like this is done by anyone that's successful.
No, absolutely not. It's just like losers that feel, and I get it. I get like hating stuff about yourself and projecting that onto other people. So this guy calling me a dumb bitch, he's probably like upset with his fucking girlfriend or something. So he's just like taking it out on me.
Yeah.
But to think you have this protection and forget you have Facebook where you can see everyone's fucking information. It's just so crazy to me, like, that people don't realize they're dumb. Like, that guy's whole careless. Yeah, because for a second he must have been like, where did this girl get this? I never told him I got it from Facebook, but he's probably like, where did she get this information from? Who does she know? Because, like, he's not thinking of Facebook.
No, and then also, I mean, it's not even that hard to, like, dig up details. So maybe, like, if there's several of the guys with that same name on Facebook. So you could probably go through his tweets a little bit and you can kind of see what he likes or what he's tweeted about. And then you can deduce which one of those on Facebook is that guy. And that wouldn't even take you that long to even go from there.
First of all, he was in San Francisco. So like you saw that. Like it's just so easy to match people up because they put this guy had his first and last name on Instagram. And then you're like, oh, I'll just go right over to Facebook and put that in. And then his whole account came up.
Don't you want to just like take the screenshot of that dialogue that he has and then blow up on a poster, fly to San Francisco, and then hang outside his job? Or like poster it at everywhere so people can see, just like shame him for like being the kind of guy that leaves comments on other people's stuff.
Well, also, I just want to find his daughters and be like, "Hey, your dad is not claiming you guys." He had a picture where he's like, "Hey, I'm hanging out with my daughters," and then he was like, "I only have sons." You're like, "What a piece of shit!" You should just be like, "Hey, man, you got me. I fucking suck." Do you know what I mean? But to just lie like that and double down.
Yeah, he probably thinks that women aren't funny.
Maybe he doesn't. I forgot what the tweet even was, but he was annoyed by it. Oh, it might have been, there was people arguing on my post for 24 hours straight. Where I think it had like 100 something comments.
Wow, that's good.
I watched 2 men or 3 men, because there was a couple other ones, just fight back and forth about the COVID numbers and whether they're inflated and how accurate they are. I just watch people fight back and forth all day about that.
Yeah,
it's fascinating to me that you could just waste a whole day. You could waste a whole day doing that, and you could also be me wasting a whole time reading them all.
Well, we're in we have the time to do that stuff.
Even if I didn't, you would make time. Like if you had like a family member who had cancer, you would still in the room where they're dying, you would still be checking Instagram. Do you know what I mean? There's just no way you wouldn't. You would fit in the time for that, even if you couldn't do other stuff. That is something you're always going to make time for.
You're like, why can't I have the work ethic that I have to like looking at trolls and creating
It's not as
chaos?
juicy.
It's
not like, you don't get that same dopamine rush, like just watching people fight or like.
Oh God, like, yeah. Watching like Gina Bisconte create like a whirlwind of chaos on a rooftop in Brooklyn was like so fun. And then
fun.
And then I managed to show Adrian that clip of that woman getting her kids to sing happy birthday.
Wait, I'm Adrian.
Yeah, I'm just telling people, like, listeners.
Gotcha, okay. I was like,
Sarah's having a weird mental break right now.
I was like, Sarah, stay with me. Oh my God, that video is amazing.
It's so funny. Like her teenage daughter's like, oh my God, I thought you were going to announce that you were pregnant, but instead you just made your kids sing happy birthday.
to a woman that you don't like, that your husband said happy birthday to or something, right?
And then everyone's like, what is wrong with you? And she didn't care.
There is a video where I don't know if it's true or not. It's on YouTube. I have to send it to you. It's a girl that pretends to shit herself at her boyfriend's house, and she takes chocolate and I guess she must have done something to make it smell bad. So she rubs it all over her ass. Then she shoots it like on the guy's face and on the wall. First of all, I've watched this video so many times. He goes fucking ballistic, where I don't think he's in on it. He goes nuts. He's like, you did it on my face. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Who do that? You gotta get the fuck out of my house. He's going nuts, and he's going to. It's so funny. It is the best thing I've ever seen. I've watched it at least 5 or 6 times already, and I'll just keep going from the beginning. That moment where he goes, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get in the shower. I gotta get the fuck out. And she's like, I gotta get in the shower. My butt's itchy. He's like, get the fuck out of my house. Who would do this? You nasty. He's also not the type of guy that I think I would ever play a prank like that on. He's just like an aggressive dude that like you would be scared that he would just go nuts.
Yeah,
but it's like, so funny.
You.
One of my favorite parts of it, you could just put on probably you could put in like girlfriend plays prank on boyfriend about shitting the bed or something. I don't know. It's so funny. I gotta send it to you. But like, she never breaks character, this girl. I don't know how she.
Amazing.
She never breaks character. And at one point, they're in his bathroom, and she has like chocolate all over her ass, and she's like slowly bumping into him, like pretending to look, and he goes nuts again. He's like, "What are you doing? Get the fuck away from me! You gotta get the fuck out of my house." He goes, "Why'd you do?" He keeps saying, "You do it on my face." It's so great. She goes, "Oh, who did it on your face?" And he's like, "You. What would you do?" He's so mad. He slaps her in the ass. He's like, "Get up right now."
Wait, so she managed to film a lot of this while?
I guess she must have had cameras set up in 2 rooms. I don't know. Because you're like, does he know about this? He's so mad that like.
I don't know. Way.
It's like, it would be amazing acting if he was in on it, but you just see him freaking out. And then he wants to go in the shower, and she's like, I gotta go in the shower. And he's like, you need to get the fuck out of my house. And like he slams the door. He's so mad. At one point,
she should get her own show.
She was great. At one point, he goes like this. It's so hilarious because he's so angry.
They should. I mean, that's why I really love Tom Green when he first came out, all the shit that he did, that I feel like they should have a female one of those, and she would be perfect for
that. Girl would be perfect. She did not break character at all. I was like so impressed. And she, at some point, he was getting so mad. I would just be like, hey, this is a joke. She just kept going into it. She was like, I need to get into the thing first. Help me take off my doo-doo pants. He was just like not into it. And then it just cuts out after a couple minutes, but it's so good. You have to watch it. I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah, please do. Cause I live for that stuff.
I wish we had a studio and we could play clips. Cause it's so great. Guys, you have to go see it.
Yeah. And guys, give us money so we can get that studio.
So we could be rich.
We want a Joe Rogan studio. Somebody had tweeted, and I thought it was funny, because Joe Rogan's new studio looks like he's doing it inside the Oscar Mayer Wiener car.
That's hilarious.
Because it is kind of new, and it looks smaller than his actual studio, the one that he had out in LA, that you're like, is he doing it inside like a surveillance van? It looks like.
Well, what's weird is his house in California was like a third of the price. And this house is like $14 million, where you're just like, I don't know. I wonder if he's going to regret it and then
move back.
He could have a house anywhere. He's so fucking rich.
I know, it's insane.
But it is crazy to go to Austin and then their biggest club closes. Do you know what I mean? So like, where is he going to perform really? I guess he could open his own club if he has enough money.
He could. And then there's still, not that I picture him going to it, there's still the Velveeta room, but I don't think
go to it.
That one.
He might. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know him that well. But like he could probably just rent out his own stuff. But it's going to be weird to try and do stand-up when like there's not really any clubs there now.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm just wondering, because like when we were talking about pandemic and now as things go on further, like how much longer can a lot of these places sustain?
I think if we get hit with a really bad winter, which I hope we don't, but there's no way to know that right now, that it's going to take a lot of places out.
Yeah. It's going to be weird.
Yeah, it also feels like working on jokes right now seems so pointless, because by the time you're actually past all this, you're like, I'm not going to do any of these jokes.
No, and then there's times like I did a longer set this weekend on Saturday, and so I actually had to say stuff like, this was pre-pandemic. This took place because you're like, it was about, you know, like the Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. And like, no one's hanging out in Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. They won't let you sit in there anymore. So it's not even that relevant.
Yeah. Or just, I had a joke. I guess I was listening to an old set and you're like, almost none of this is relevant. Do you know what I mean? Like some of it, I think once we go back into regular life, like you said, doing jokes about Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, that stuff will come back. But right now it seems like it's not relevant right now. Even though like I went to Starbucks the other day and there was like 20 people online. Yeah. Like, I passed a McDonald's the other day and people were online for it like they were giving out free iPhones. There was a line down the block where you're like, this is McDonald's. It's not great food. It's just so weird to wait so, even though I get wanting to eat gross food, I just don't know that I would wait for like an hour to get it. Unless I was involved in like a good fight on, you can really get through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, if you tell me
a good fight.
There's a video at the end of it where somebody's sharing their family drama, then I'd be like, this is worth it.
I love that lady that was so petty that she made a birthday cake for this lady. Like that definitely
that took an hour.
Yeah, it definitely got back to her.
I think that video went viral, I think.
Yeah, and that guy has to feel kind of dumb. Like everyone he works with is like, why would you say happy birthday to that lady that your wife hates? Like if I was that lady, I would have to sing a happy birthday song back to that lady.
Yeah, I'd have to like somehow keep it going.
I just liked how she made this cake and did this, and then the husband was like, "You're fucking nuts," and he just like walked away. And you're like, "This is pretty great." I don't know if you're appreciating the level of this.
No, but he's like, if this is fucking nuts, and I'm there, as much as that mom is like toxic or just like that's horrible, you're also like, dude, you started it.
Yeah. You're like, why would you do
idiot?
this? It's like, why couldn't you just say happy birthday to someone I don't hate?
Yeah, or like instead of like an ex-girlfriend or something.
I mean, that's one of my favorite. That along with the doo is the greats to come out from 2020.
Yeah, I like just if you guys have any more, if you stumble across any family drama stuff or like personal
Love it.
stuff being aired, dirty laundry on social media, please send it our way. Because you'll send me something and I don't even know these two people, but
Doesn't matter.
The dirty laundry aired, you're just like, oh my God, so fascinating.
I'll just like on Facebook, there is a lot of people who are just calling each other out or like vaguely calling each other out. Like that one girl that I love who's always like, all my haters, you can keep like something like, you know, they always have those dumb things where it's like, all my haters, they just keep, you know, like watering my plants and now I'm going to grow bigger. Like it's just these weird things they say where you're like, it doesn't make sense, but I get what they're doing. Where it's like, you think you're watering my plants, but you're just watering my weeds. Like it's always weird things like that where you're just like, I have to love this. Yeah, but you're like, I kind of get it.
Yeah. Well, because it at the same time, like they're emotional. So then they also like people like that also like they do like to hear something like that and they're like, that sounds really good. I need to say that out loud. And then they don't know exactly what they're saying. And then it goes all over the place.
It's kind of like comedy where you wake up in the middle of the night and you write a joke down and then you wake up in the morning and you're like, that was terrible.
I don't know what that was.
Thinking that was possibly a joke.
Oh, yeah. Or I always find that on stage, all of a sudden I mess up I'm kind of riffing and then I mess up a saying, I like a popular saying, and I just realize I don't remember fully how to say it. And then I'm like, wait, what? I don't even know if that's how you say it.
I've done that with jokes.
Well, I did that. I was talking to Joe and I couldn't think of the terminology legal fees and I called it law costs. Do you ever do shit like that?
Of course. I also think I'm like getting dementia because I'm like, what is that word that I can't think of? I just did it with that dumb meme that I said that girl did about watering her plants.
Yeah.
It's like, you think you're drowning me by overwatering me, but I'm just growing big and strong.
My beanstalk's going to be so big.
I'm going to cover your house with beanstalks and you're not going to be able to walk outside.
Now all my haters, they're going to be so jealous that they can't climb my beanstalk. So you're like, Karen, Deborah, what are you saying?
That's so funny. There was one where a girl said something about like the season's changing, but that's great because now I can see all the snakes in the grass, or like something about shedding your skin, something about like shedding your skin, like, but that's like what snakes do, or like something like that where it's about snakes, but like I see my haters because they're in the grass. Like if something like that, and you're like, this is so bad.
It's so funny though. I think about that too with like, you know, in wrestling matches.
I'm gonna pause you because I saw another good one.
Okay. Well, can I still speak while you're looking?
Yeah, you can speak. Oh,
well, I was just gonna say that like I like that about when wrestling, when before a match they have to shit talk for the camera and be like they'll be like, I'm coming down, I'm gonna go to your family, I'm gonna you know, like they have to, and they're being all like off the top of their head and they have to think of tough guy stuff to say, that I feel like I would fuck it up so hard if I was a wrestler and I had to talk shit to the camera.
I'd be like, can I start over? Sorry. I just laughed. I made it. Yeah, I would never be able to do that. I found it.
Over.
This is what this girl said. Okay. She posted this on Instagram. And I follow her basically just for this. I'm not sugar and spice and everything nice. I'm sage and hood and I wish a motherfucker would. I'm like, oh God, come on.
That was good.
That was very good. Can you see me or no?
No, it's a still shot of you putting your finger to the camera.
How do I get you back?
There you go.
I did it.
We did it. That was really great. Yeah, guys, give us some dirty laundry on Facebook, or Shelly, I know you've got the goods.
Shelly always has some good info. I remember one time I was like talking to this guy and we were going to write a sketch about, because you said something about I'm still on there, so it made me think of stillbirth. We were going to write a sketch about this baby that was born stillbirth, but like the family wanted to still take it home, and they just had this baby that was like stillborn, and they were pretending it was a regular baby. Like every time they washed it, a little more of its body came apart.
Oh my God.
You're like, that's one of those. That's one of those
those
ideas that you think is great, and then you look back on it and you're like, I don't know if that's that funny anymore.
No, and you're like, shit, and I actually put that in my SNL writing packet.
You're like, I don't understand why I didn't get picked. I thought that was so good.
No, I remember having that and like one of the few times I got high, the first few times of getting high, it was around Christmas time, and I was walking with my friend, and it was all like Christmas decorations on people's yards. And I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be funny if we hung the baby Jesus? And I just thought it was funny on the fact of like something so dark and disturbing. But then like a little moment later, and I was like, oh my God, I think that would have just been, people wouldn't have got why I thought it was funny. And it would just be like this,
I still think it's funny.
It would be this weird, disturbing thing. Like people would be like, this is like fucked up that somebody hung a baby.
Yeah, but it's baby Jesus. He does die. I love that when people have nativity scenes out in like their front yard and they don't put baby Jesus out until like Christmas Eve. Like they're all waiting for his arrival.
That is so funny. I just think, you know, that like comedy premise of going back in time and killing baby Hitler. Yeah. I just think it'd be funny if you went back in time and you thought you killed baby Hitler, but instead you accidentally killed baby Jesus.
Oh my God, people would be so mad at you. Be like, why did you do that? You're supposed to kill Hitler.
I thought it was.
You're like, I just saw a baby. I just thought this has to be right.
I thought Hitler was born around the same time that, I guess he was born the same time that Jesus was.
Yeah, are you sure that I didn't kill him?
They're like, no, you killed baby Jesus. You're like, that's impossible.
He'd be like, look. And then you're like, oh no, he has a tiny little mustache. How did I not know? He'd be like, yeah, that tiny mustache like Hitler. I just thought it was him.
That's fine. I'll just go back in time and redo it. And they're like, no.
You used your one shot.
It's like wishes.
I used to always instantly wish for more wishes.
Oh yeah, that's the best kind.
But if you could only have 3 wishes and one of them couldn't be that, what would it be?
Well,
I want to be rich.
I had the rich is one time I had that. I took the test. Like I went to a therapy when I was a kid, and they asked me that question, and I said invisible, to fly, and I forgot what the other one was, but it wasn't like get rich. And then they were like, oh, that's so you're creative. Like most kids say, they want to be rich or like 3 more wishes or whatever. And then they had no idea the reason why I chose that is so I could rob banks. You're like, I still wanted the same thing, but like I have a skill level to get that.
That's hilarious. My mom put me and my sister into therapy like when we were kind of young. And I remember me and my sister one day were talking, and she was like, well, what did you talk about in there? And I was like, you know how I always worry about dying, and like how if I don't step like on a crack or something, someone's going to die. Like that was a lot of my childhood, I think.
Yeah.
And I go, what were you talking about? She goes, oh, I was just talking about all my brothers and sisters and stuff. And I was like, you can just do that? You can just lie? She had made up this whole fantasy world of like all of her brothers and sisters and all the stuff we were doing. And I was like in there just talking about how I'm worried we're all going to die.
That's so funny. It's also like funny to be like as a mom and be like, I'm going to take my kids to therapy. I just feel like when your therapist takes your kids back to the mom and be like, well, you really did a number on these ones.
Well, yeah, I wonder if they know. They must talk to the parents at some point. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? To like get to see if that's remotely true.
Well, I know my sister-in-law, she's a therapist or a psychologist, and she said she does juvenile, like works with kids. And she said, it's not the kids. She's like, it's the parents that need the therapy. It's not the kids. They're just the symptom of the parents. That
makes sense.
But the parents never see it that way.
Well, my mom certainly didn't when she sent us to it.
No, but it must be weird as a therapist to be like, whoa, what did you do?
Yeah, you're like, what are all your 10 brothers and sisters' names?
That is really fascinating that you manifested a different way, and then your sister was like, I'm just going to lie.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm in there talking about my deepest, darkest secrets at like a 12-year-old, and she's in there just making shit up. I remember one time we went to family therapy, and it should have just been my parents and couples therapy, but they brought us there also.
Yeah.
And for an hour, you just talk about who's going to clean the bathroom. You're like, why am I here for this? This is not helping. Like, do you know what I mean? It was just, my mother and father had issues, but they brought us with them to like get involved. And this guy's house just smelled like garlic.
That's so weird.
And that's what we talked about, chores and like who's going to do what. I'm like, this is a fucking waste of time. Also, why do we have to do chores? My mother didn't work. It's like, stop being a lazy bitch and clean the house. It was also just a tiny apartment. Do you mean like chores are when people have like dual house, like both of the parents are working?
Yeah, and they're like equal. But if you're staying home, that's how sometimes I get that way of like, oh, I might as well just clean the apartment or do something or cook dinner.
Yeah, why was she not cleaning the apartment? I just don't get it.
That's such a funny insight now that you have as like a kid being like, Mom,
you don't even work. Why are you not cleaning?
Oh, God. I guess like we should have been therapists if we love family drama so much. Like
one time I told this guy I was going to be a therapist and he let me therapize him. I think that's the way you should be saying that. And then he was like, you're pretty good at it. I was like, I think I'm pretty decent. I could be a decent therapist.
Yeah.
I love drama.
Yeah. I like hearing give me the scoops and that's all you're getting. Although it would be really hard for me to keep a lot of it like a secret. Because I know even Alan and his wife are both therapists and they don't discuss stuff. And I feel like it would be like, oh my God,
I'd be like, what happened with that lady?
Crazy.
I'd be like, what happened with that lady that banged her husband's twin brother? Did he ever find out? Yeah, it's so weird that like they don't talk about stuff like that.
Yeah, the ability to keep like juicy, fun details like that in, unless you just like hear so much of it that you just get like numb to it, I guess.
The weird thing about Alan is he sees so many comics that he must be able to put pieces of like stories together.
Yeah. And be like,
That's what I would think would happen. My allergies are so bad. I still can't breathe. I'm just never going to be able to breathe.
That sucks. I guess also with the season change, like I know I tend to seize a lot more. Do you have any shows this week?
I had two. One got canceled already. I was going to do Gary's show. So
that sucks.
I think I have 2 or 3 next week. I don't know. I know I was going to do that thing you did where you're like, hey, I think somebody booked me for this day, but I don't know where it is. Like, can someone tell me?
You know what, though? If you don't know where it is and you're not going to, if you can't get out to it, I think it's fine. Like,
yeah, I don't think it matters.
No one's going to hold that accountable against you right now.
Yeah. I mean, do you think a lot more people are going to be doing Zoom shows once it gets colder? Somebody asked me about doing a show on November 15th or something. I'm like, it's going to be freezing.
Yeah, I'm starting I know I saw at New York Comedy Club being like, put in your veils. These are outdoor and they're for October shows. I'm like, oh, it's going to start getting cold. But you know what? I think de Blasio said that he, for New York, they're just going to keep dining open, outside dining open now. And I think forever, because I think it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, but it's like in January, February, I don't think that many people are going to want to be outdoor dining.
I know. Yeah. Also, my fries are cold.
Yeah, and I don't see like once everything is hopefully back to normal, you being able to have people sitting in the street in New York City. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I just feel like once there's much more capacity, people are going to be hitting a lot more people in that.
True, but there's some restaurants where I'm like, with their outdoor seating, I'm like, you guys are fitting in way more people outdoors than you were when you had your small, tiny space indoors.
That makes sense for some places, but there's a lot of places that are just probably not even making what they were close to making.
Yeah, especially like there's those stores that are like this wide and then they go deep so they can fit like 25 tables deep, but then only like if they were going to do sidewalk dining, it would only be like 2 tables on the sidewalk that they could fit.
It's going to be an interesting winter.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of excited. There's a little part of me that's like, I kind of liked staying in. I liked wearing my sweats nonstop, and I liked
We're gonna get back to that real quick. We're going to be doing a lot of Zoom shows where you're just going to have a shirt on up to here.
Yeah, I was like, that wasn't so bad. And then not making any money is rough, but I kind of got used to doing Zoom shows.
I only did 3, and one was okay. One was pretty, like, really good, and one was terrible.
Yeah.
The last one I did it was terrible, and I was like, I might just be out of show business. Like, I just may not be doing comedy anymore.
That's how it feels when we're like, are we even in it? It feels like nothing's happening.
I don't feel like it is. But, you know, Netflix is taping something for, like, Tiffany Haddish's second season of her show. So I guess they're figuring out ways to tape stuff for comedy. Like, I think it must be outdoors, right?
I'm assuming so. I'm not sure, but Epic's taped a bunch of little mini, whatever you call it, specials, and those were indoors, and they just did everybody's temperature, like when you go to the gym.
Okay.
And I think every time I go to the gym, I have to sign a flyer all the time saying, I won't see you guys if I get COVID.
That makes sense.
So they're probably going to just do that for, I guess, indoor stuff.
I really need to cancel the gym membership that I had at Planet Fitness. I have not gone to it in over a year, maybe more, because I was doing like those classes. That's a good idea. That's what I'm going to do when we get off the phone.
Yay.
When we get off of this.
Make some money.
Yeah.
Did we wrap it up?
Wrap it up.
I'm nowhere. Actually, I'm going to be at Rogue Island Comedy Festival outdoor.
Ooh, fun. Where is that?
What date is that? October 10th.
Fun.
So I'll be doing Rogue Island.
Yeah, I'll be doing some little shows around town the next month. I feel like in November, it's probably going to be a wrap.
Yeah, we're going to go
unless they get heaters, but I still think it's going to be freezing.
Yeah. Well, those heaters only work within like a 5-inch radius.
Right. So you would need to have like a bunch of them on like the ceiling and then also on the side. I just don't see like doing stand-up in a North Face jacket like happening. I don't know.
Although I feel like I saw plenty of times when you would just go up, do your North Face and then go.
That is true. I have worn a jacket on stage and I just don't, if I feel like the place is, one, either I don't want to have to go find it after, or two, if the place is gross. And I don't want to. And I used to do that at a club where I thought it was gross and I didn't want anything to fall on my jacket.
Yeah,
so maybe.
I do shows still, like outdoor shows now with my purse on me.
I always have my purse or like bag. It's just like, I don't want to have to look for this. I don't want to have to forget it.
Yeah, and I can't leave it outdoor where all of a sudden you can just take it and the getaway car is like 2 feet away.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'm going to bring this. I had like a huge crossbody backpack on the other day. I was like, I don't care. I had so much stuff in it. I had like my notepad and my microphone and a bottle of water. And I think I had a hoodie in there. I just had so much shit in there.
I know. And then I carry like stuff like this with me now, like my little mic condoms.
That's what you got to do.
A lot of stuff.
Guys, like us on Instagram, Twitter.
If you're interested in doing a live debate on YouTube Live, let us know.
Yeah, we'll try and figure that out.
If we get more than 5 people that are into it,
we'll do it.
We'll do it. VadgePodcast@gmail.com. Like us and comment on iTunes to get our numbers up.
Guys, thanks for your nice messages and the new Patreons.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
You guys rock.
I think that's it.